There is something to that stuff you're just burning to do for whatever reason. Sometimes those work, I don't know. I think you're doing this. I'm trying to do like the 3-prong attack, like, the big swings of like trying to do an A24 movie, then the more medium swings, and then the small swings of like, I'm going to make a short film, or I'm going to make I'm thinking of doing a Kickstarter to do a micro budget film, something that I can control.
Welcome to Get Scene Unscripted. I'm your host, Jesse Malinowski. We are going to dive into acting insights, meet industry pros, and master the business. Don't forget to subscribe and share. We're keeping you behind the scenes and ahead of the game. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Get Scene Unscripted. I'm your host, Jesse Malinowski, and I'm really excited for today's episode. If you haven't already watched Adult Swim Yule Log branching out, then this is your sign. And to really push it forward and get you even more amped up and excited, we got the writer, director, producer in the house, Casper Kelly. What's up, man?
Hello, Jesse. Pleasure to be here.
I'm so excited that you're here, and it was so much fun working with you on that. I just want to say, like, where the hell do you come up with these ideas?
Well, yes, I think it's an experimental film, but it was, I was in this movie club, and we would watch movies, and I'd gotten curious about Hallmark movies. So, but also one of the people in the movie club loved Hallmark movies. So I was like, well, pick one for us and let's watch it. And I was like, pick a weird one. And she picked one called Holiday in Handcuffs. And it's about a single woman who's going home for the holidays, and she's tired of going home single. So she kidnaps a man at gunpoint and takes him home. And we watched it, and it's funny. We're laughing at it, but also I got the warm fuzzies too. Like, even though I'm kind of on one side of the brain is kind of looking down at it, the other side of the brain is like, oh, so that really interested me. Like, it works. Those movies work on me.
Yeah.
So I think they work on
everyone else.
Yeah,
right?
I think they work on people, and I was interested in that, to try that. And also, it just seemed different in terms of as a sequel to Adult Swim Yule Log, the first movie. And I thought a lot of times I want to do a trilogy. So please pray for me that they let me do a third one.
Yes.
But a lot of times in a trilogy, the second one is the darkest. So I thought maybe I'll go a little lighter on the second one just to be contrary. And then go really dark for the third one. Horribly dark.
Yes.
But anyway.
So, I mean, you have a really good relationship with Adult Swim. You were, like we were talking earlier, but I mean, you were like essentially like on staff.
Yes.
Doing Your Pretty Faces Going to Hell. I feel like Adult Swim, they are a very specific breed of show or film of like what they do. They have like, I feel like a really cool relationship with their audience. Is most of like what you write kind of in that genre, or have you had to steer into that direction?
I think my natural inclinations are definitely appeal to Adult Swim, but I definitely in my career have written I enjoy writing other things. I enjoy writing different type of, even this movie is sort of a witness of trying to write something out of my wheelhouse in a way. And it's also nice, like I've staffed on other people's shows, and it's sort of a relief to be out of your own creative obsessions and trying to please somebody else, the showrunner, write for fulfill their vision. So it's been very satisfying. But no, I'm very naturally I love Adult Swim. I love what they do. I mean, I'm as a fan before I was there, so it was very naturally fits me. Yes.
Do you have like a methodology when it comes to like your ideas? Like, I mean, because they're so out of the box. Do you know what I mean? And that's so cool. And I feel like could be tough to do. And I think in like today's day, we need so much more of that. We're just like remaking the same stuff over and over. And, we're going to be Mission Impossible 47 here pretty soon. And your ideas, in Yule Log, right, is like so out of the box. So do you have like a methodology when you're writing and when you're coming up with these ideas?
Not exactly. I think it's pretty natural. I think, what was I going to say? I do think Adult Swim, and this was probably a good thing to learn, is, I've been there a long time. I was there have worked with them a long time, for maybe 20 years. And like when Lord of the Rings came out, everyone and their uncle was pitching sort of fantasy themed cartoons. And Mike Lazo, who was the head of Adult Swim at the time, was like, no, everybody's doing that. I don't want that. And he goes, what you don't see is slapstick. Three Stooges. When's the last time you've seen, people poking each other in the eyes and hitting each other with pans or falling down? And he's like, I want someone to pitch me a slapstick show. And I think he is not, let me start over. I think a lot of executives, not all, but a lot of executives understandably are motivated by fear, because these things cost money. And if it flops, it's your head, So, but he is not motivated by fear. And I would also say Michael O'Lean, the new head of Adult Swim, is also, and Cam Tang are not motivated by fear either. They're motivated by interest, like what's interesting, what do I like, and so they're really able to pick, interesting. It's not just weird for weird's sake. I think it's just genuinely good stuff, like great stuff. Anyway, that's my opinion.
Yeah. You mentioned how you hoped Yule Log could be a trilogy.
Yes.
Did you immediately already have this idea of 3 films, or you're just like, I had the first idea, this gave me the idea for the second, well, now I want to do a third, and you would still be coming up with it, or it was always a trilogy in your head?
Maybe I daydreamed it was a trilogy, but no, I didn't really map it out as a trilogy. I'm more of it's fun to paint myself into corners and see, see what happens. But I do have ideas for the third one that I am if I get to do one, which I'm very excited about.
What do we gotta do to make this happen? Everyone watch. Yeah.
Yes, watch.
So how was, if going back to the first one, then can you talk about, I guess, the feeling of accomplishment of getting that finished? And it had a lot of press, and like New York Times wrote about it, so I mean it did pretty well, right?
Yes, very. Yeah. I got to make a sequel, which I guess is the ultimate signal, right?
Yeah. Exactly. So how was that feeling for you? Because I think it's like so important that we like take time to acknowledge our achievements, but we get kind of sometimes stuck on just like the next thing. Did you take a moment to be like, holy shit, I did it? And
yes. I think when it's the first time, like it was my first feature film, it is very binary. Like you feel like you've crossed over in another land. I was kind of saying you earlier, it was like when you lose your virginity.
Yeah.
You just feel really good. Like, okay, I'm not a virgin. That feels like even a week later you wake up, oh my God, I had sex. It's amazing. So it's sort of like that. I mean, is it that way for you? Like when you got your first SAG residual, or when you had your first acting job that aired on TV, or what, like, it's like, yes, I'm a real, or when you got into SAG, it's like, yes, that's a feeling, right? For you? Or no?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I would say for the actor, and I can't speak for all actors, but I would say that it comes and goes. Like, when you're on set, you're like, I'm doing it. I'm an actor. But then there could be so much time in between.
Yes.
So then you're like, I'm a failure. So you go from like success to like just a failure, So I feel like it bounces back and forth. But I think you feel that more like when you're on set. And as an actor, you're not like, this is my baby, this is my project, where I think you probably felt more of that, where you like wrote, directed, produced it, so you were like involved in every aspect of it.
That's true. I think also it's like your book, you've written a book, it's on the shelf, it can't be taken away.
Yeah.
You wrote a book.
Totally.
And
yep.
you wrote a book. So
Yes.
It's that, like, yeah, you can worry about sales or whatever, writing the next book, but you did it. You did that.
100%.
Like, how many friends do you have that want to write a book that haven't? Like, I have a
Right.
lot of friends that want to make a movie that haven't, So there is that feel. Not that I'm comparing myself, but a little,
Yeah, no,
But
it's
it's
an accomplishment.
that it's an accomplishment. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Because you do all three aspects and you did it on both films. Is there one that you prefer, or doing all three makes it challenging? Can you kind of talk about that process of writing, directing, producing?
Sure.
It's like so many hats. It's a lot.
Yes. Writing, self-explanatory, fun. It's fun. I finally got over procrastination to an extent with it. Like, it took a long time, but I now know, okay, let's get started. Let's do it. And it's okay to write a bad first draft. Like, just go for it. And I was inspired, like, oh my God, who's the director who did Black Swan and Pi and Aronofsky? Yeah. I think he rents a hotel for like 3 days and just writes the thing as fast as possible. So then he's got a draft. And then, so I was like, yeah. And then you have a draft. So then you can read it. And actually some of it ends up being pretty good, like you're not thinking too hard, So that wasn't your question. What was your question again?
Well, no, I mean, it was talking about all three aspects.
And then directing can be fun. It can also be very tough because you're always, I'm sort of an introvert, so I'm dealing with personalities, like you're dealing with other crafts people, you're dealing with other artists. So it's always hard if like a prop person is like, well, here's this prop I spent a long time building. And I'm like, that's not at all what I wanted. It can't be that because of the story. It has to look like that. That's always tough. And, but it's also very magical because you write something and then you walk onto a set and it's been made a reality. That's really magical. Or even when you're looking at a shot that you were excited about when you wrote it, and to see it is beautiful. And then editing is fun. Editing is great because it's more leisurely. You're not on a set out in the woods with mosquitoes. You're in a nice air conditioned office and you're like, moving shots around and experimenting. That's fun. That's probably, that's probably my favorite part of directing, maybe. But all of it can be good. But directing, I guess writing and directing, I feel like I've got a ton to learn. And then producing is such a weird word because it could mean anything. It could mean, I know a guy that got you the money. It could, we'll give you a producer credit. It could be the person who's really there making everything run, So for me, producing was sort of, to an extent, solving problems, but I wasn't the main person that had to do that. Solving problems or sort of smoothing out relationships or helping communication, It's just a crazy, operation where you assemble, 50 people or something from scratch. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah. Actors, listen up. The Southeast is one of the top markets in the film and TV industry, and get ready for a career transformation like never before. Walk away with leveled up mindset and unshakable confidence. Breakout workshops to elevate your craft. Incredible agents and casting directors who will help shape your career path. This is more than just a weekend. This is your chance to build on your craft and grow your community. The career you want starts here. The question is, are you ready to own it? Yeah, you talked about you got past procrastination when it came to writing.
I probably spoke too soon on that. I still procrastinate, but much less so. It used to be debilitating.
Give yourself credit,
All
Casper.
right, yeah. But I will. I know you're about to hit me with a question, but I will plug something that helped me.
Good. That's what I want.
For a while. I've recommended it to dozens of people. I don't think one person has done it.
Oh, well, we're going to have more than dozens of listeners, so someone do it.
Yeah, will someone do it and report back to Jesse if it was helpful? I really am curious because I thought it was great. It's going to sound crazy. It's called FocusMate, and it's basically chat roulette for getting things done. And you log on and you schedule an appointment, and it pairs you with a random person over video somewhere in the world who also has to get something done for that hour. and you go, "Hi, nice to meet you. I've got to work. I want to write 5 pages of my screenplay." And then it'll be like, "I'm a pastor in Austria and I have to write my sermon for tomorrow." Okay, great. And then we'll check in at the end and we'll see how you did. Then you mute yourself, both of you mute yourself, but you keep the video there, and then you do the work. And the theory is that you have a very fundamental wiring that if you tell someone to their face that you're going to do something, and then their face is right there, you're going to do it. You're highly motivated to do it, even if you don't want to do it. So it's great for, like, you don't want to clean your house, you don't want to do this, use this Focus Mate, and it really works. But everyone's like, "Oh, that sounds good." And then I think when push comes to shove, it's like, "That sounds crazy. I'm not going to talk to a stranger." But I love it. I love it. I've met so many interesting people. Like the pastor in Austria was a real example. Like,
Yeah.
it's wild. It kind of opens up your view. I've met so many people, not that you really chat for a long time, but you meet people outside of your bubble. It's kind of nice.
So I love that. So this is the thing, though. I think this is the next, problem that we got to come up with a solution with. 100%, I think that works. It's I have to log on. It's that getting out of your comfort zone to actually log on to FocusMate is like when I don't know if I call it, like, get into a funk, right? Yeah. You kind of get into this funk. You don't like want to do anything. You're just like sitting on the couch. You're like nothing feels motivating. And like, that's the moment you got to get past, actually log on. So is there like anything that you do to be like, I'm logging on? Like, it could be as simple as like, I'm going to count to 5. When I get to 5, I'm going, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go,
I don't have that problem at all. So
Really?
No, because I think this is probably revealing more than I should. I think I had times, like, growing up where, like, I'd be in a classroom or something with everyone wasn't like me, in a way. Like, this is hard for anyone who's Gen X, after Gen X, to understand, because nerds have been ascendant for 30 years now or whatever.
Right.
But when I was growing up, that wasn't a thing. Like, being into comic books was not a thing you should admit to anyone if you're in middle school or high school, definitely not high school. So, but also just the things I was into were different. So just to get along, I had to sort of develop a skill of being interested in other people, but I am interested in other people. It's so innate now. It's not fake. I like other people and I like to hear about them. So to me, it's very comfortable. Like, you can drop me off in a cocktail party with strangers. And it's so weird because I'm such an introvert, and I can't believe I'm saying it about myself, but to me, that's not hard at all. I like it. I actually am fascinated by people. I love hearing about people's jobs. Like, people are like, "Oh, I have a boring job." I'm like, "No, let's hear it. Tell me about it." I just like it. I don't know. So I didn't have that shyness with that for some reason, but I am shy. I don't know why. Anyway.
I love that you brought that up, Casper, because and this has come up on the show multiple times before, but it's like, actors thinking about, like, networking and wanting to connect with, whether it be the director or other actors on set, or the writer or producers on set or something, and it's like, what are you supposed to do? What's the best way to do it? And it always comes back to, like, just be genuinely interested in people. But it does sound like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but, like, because when you were younger, like you said, like, you're not probably telling everyone about the comic books you're reading. So instead, you're putting the effort to just be genuinely interested in them. And now, at this point, there's no effort at all. Now you're, like, just genuinely interested. But it did take the initial effort to be like, I'm going to focus on this, before it became, like, autopilot, right?
Yeah, I think this is a theory. It may be false, but I do think if you get someone talking about themselves, they're not focusing on you or what's wrong with you or what they don't like about you. I don't know, maybe. This is a total
100%.
total theory.
Well, also, people, I think, for the most part, like to talk about themselves, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I'm, asking you about, like, one of your favorite jobs or your favorite movies or favorite scripts, you're immediately going to be thinking, "Oh my God, I love this script. This is why I like it." And when you and I separate, you're going to be like, I like that Jesse guy. But it's because we were talking about one of your favorite things. It has nothing to do with me. It's just because that's what I brought up.
Yes.
You know, so it's like, I think that thought process of like, I'm going to put it on the other person, be genuinely interested, like you're talking about, really is important.
Yes. And I think might also have been a component of, it was hard to, maybe I'm sure I was oversensitive. So if I talked about myself and I could see they weren't into it, I could tell. So why not just hear what they have to say about themselves? Like, why, you know? So I'm sure I probably overdid it that way too, you know?
Right.
But anyway, but it was a way to connect with people. So
yeah. I want to bring it back to the movie here.
Yes.
One of my, well, there's two, I'm going to tell you my two favorite parts of the film.
All right.
Part number one is how many times Andrea gets knocked over.
Yes. And who knew that she was a stunt person?
Yeah. That's one of my favorite. When I read the script, I loved that part too. So and then I thought you did such a good job on it bouncing back and forth from Hallmark to horror movie, like literally like in between lines. You know, you did this. Did you always have like that thought? How did you come up with that creative idea of it constantly kind of bouncing back and forth?
I think that was the idea of like, that was the heart of it. Like, someone who, well, like the movie Halloween, with Jamie Lee Curtis, the second one takes place right after the first one. So, and the way this movie is the same to an extent. And so I was interested in, we're in a horror movie. If you're a character that just went through a horror movie, what would you do if you were Jamie Lee Curtis or if you're Zoe? And I thought, well, this is weird, but I'd probably carry that axe everywhere because you never know what's going to happen. You want to have defense. And then I'd get the hell out of Dodge. Like, go somewhere, go to a desert where there's no trees. I mean, go like make it work for it. I like to think about that with horror movies. Like It Follows. You ever see that movie? It Follows. Mm-hmm. It's fascinating, but it's without getting too much into it. There's a creature that can take any form, even like your ant, and it just starts slowly walking towards you, and then it will kill you. I was thinking, well, if that was me, I would try to get a job as a stewardess, and then just go to Australia, and then it would have to slowly walk through the Pacific Ocean, and then I'd fly back, and it's like, oh my God, because it can only walk slowly, you know. So anyway, but it's determined. So that's how my mind works. That doesn't answer your question, but yeah.
But you know what? No, but you know what's so funny about that is I'm like, you know what? The way that you write is the way actors need to audition. You're like, literally, I'm putting myself in this situation. And then this is the solution I would do. Where it's like actors, like you need to like bring your life to the auditions, and like that's what's gonna make it stand out and make it unique.
Yes. I think yes. I do think that. I do. That's true. That, I mean, it's not a guarantee, but putting your ugly self into things is a better shot of cutting through than trying to please people. This has been my experience. The stuff that I do that tries to please people goes nowhere. So I tried that, of course, you know, like, oh, this is a great idea. This is a great commercial idea. No one cares.
Yeah.
But here's the thing I want to do. I'm dying to do. I don't give a shit if no one pays me. I'm doing it. That's the thing that seems to cut so far.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was it? Do you have like a favorite moment in putting this film together that you could share?
Oh my gosh. So many. It really is magical because this was a lot of locations, and for it to work, like the Hallmark vibes to work, and all the hunks was fun. I needed help from my daughters and my wife to pick the hunks in auto casting. But also, you know, the horror elements. I mean, there's a horror set piece at Christmas Eve dinner that I thought was so wild. You know?
That scene is great.
Yeah. Yeah.
My mom had to cover her eyes. She was like, oh my God, tell me when it's over.
Yeah, that was pretty great. It made me happy. Yeah.
Your family, when they were helping you cast the hunks, were they like excited, or they're like, oh, Dad, I gotta do
No,
this?
they were into it. And it was
Yeah.
funny because my younger daughter, who's 18, so I shouldn't even tell this to actors. This is horrible, but I'd go to the next one, and before I even hit play, nope. I'm like, damn, let's play it. You know,
And
no,
they're like, nope.
he's not it.
But you know what? I mean, I mean, I know it's horrible to think for like the self-tapes and stuff, but I mean, that is though, like how it, like you do know, like you could just look and be like, nope.
Yeah.
And that, as the casting director, producer, director, like that saves you time.
Yeah.
You know, that you don't have to watch the audition, but you heard it here, everyone. It happens. Just nope.
But my 18-year-old daughter, I watched everything. Yes.
But they were right, weren't they? Right?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to go against my wife and daughters. Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. So how did the relationship with Adult Swim kind of flourish for you? You said you were a fan of Adult Swim.
Okay, yeah.
But like that must have been a dream come true.
Oh yeah. Well, here's how it started. Was I was in LA working at a art school. And my friend was doing free. This is probably more detail than you want. I'll make it fast. So I was in. Then my friend was doing advertising for Cartoon Network, and he said, "You would like what they're doing over here. They were doing promos like watch Dexter's Laboratory, but they were doing original animation, doing fun skits because they had all this airtime to fill." So I applied, and it was with Michael Oline, who's now the head of Adult Swim, was running that department. And they gave me a writer's test. It wasn't like, where'd you go to college or what are your references? It's like, here's a writer's test.
What's a writer's test?
Where it would be like, write a promo. For example, there was a knockoff of the Smurfs called the Snorks that Hanna-Barbera did. There were underwater Smurfs. And it was like, we want to write a promo about the Snorks, write this, write that. So it was heaven. So I did that. And then it was awesome. Like, it was very natural to me because I've always loved Hanna-Barbera cartoons and stuff. So, and then I got the job there. And then once I was in the building there, I became friendly with the development executives who were just literally across the hall, who were wonderful people. Mike Lazo, Linda Saminsky, Khaki Jones, and pitched a Cartoon Network show and got a pilot. And then eventually pitched a Adult Swim show. And also I would... the other showrunners there, I would just go, hey, if you ever, anything I can do, if you want, if I could write a script or pitch ideas or anything, no pressure, but if you ever are slammed I would love an opportunity, but no pressure, I don't want to, I would do that. So I got to write episodes of Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, and Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and Squidbillies too, which was a dream.
Did they hit you up immediately after that? Or they were like, okay, we'll call you? Or like, how did, because you're like putting yourself out there and that could feel scary. And so did that immediately pay off, or did it pay off later?
It paid off. Harvey Birdman paid off fairly quickly because he, Michael Oline and our director wanted consultants to joke punch up. They had like a room of 10 people. So if I'm asking if I can do it, they let me in. And also they liked my writing anyway from working for him. So that was pretty fast. Aqua Teen took a little bit longer and Squidbillies a little longer, but just patience and
The patience is key. The patience is key.
Although you got to control, like it's what you're saying. You can't be waiting. You got to have other stuff you're doing. You got to always be throwing hooks in the water.
Hey, are you a parent of a young actor? Then you're going to want to pay attention to this because Get Scene Studios has what we call our Rising Star Program. This program is incredible. It is a monthly program that puts you in front of an industry pro every single month and focuses on what a young actor needs to be focusing on, which is auditions. So every single month we focus on either theatrical auditions or commercial auditions so they can be set up for success when they get an agent, or if they already have an agent, to really succeed at these auditions and even begin to make money at this. So we bring in different industry pros every single month and agents and casting directors, and then work on those auditions. So if this sounds like something that you would like to get your child or a friend that has a child involved in, all you need to do is email risingstar@getscenestudios.com, and we will let you try your first month for just $1 a class. That's right, only $1 a class. All you got to do is email us, and we will get you all set up and ready to go to improve those auditions, and then also get in front of those industry pros, because we are Get Scene. Thanks for watching. Yeah. Well, speaking of other hooks in the water, I know that you're going to be writing for Netflix.
Yes.
How does that happen for like a writer to be getting into these other studios and to try to get your scripts? You know, because you were mainly at Adult Swim,
Yes.
then decided you started freelancing, right? And so good work. Now you're going to be doing something for Netflix. Like, how does that work? And like, does it bring a different pressure?
Yes. It is, a lot of it is a relationship business. Not entirely. Obviously, you want to have great spec scripts. But I think with Netflix, it started, there was a show called Agent Elvis that I got on partly through relationships. And then from there was another movie that someone I knew from Adult Swim was the director of. It was going to be an animated Ghostbusters movie. And they gave him a list of names. And so, he knew me. So I was one of the 3 people that got to pitch to try to do it. And I ended up getting that one. And then from that, the producers on that really liked working with me. So when I was one of the 3 names on this new Netflix movie, they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll give this person a shot," you know. So I don't know if I answered that. Yeah,
it 100%
so,
does.
So Netflix now, I think, sort of trusts me. Like they go, "Oh yeah, he's on this thing. This was good. So he's on the list of like, we can trust him." So I just need to try to get that in other streamers, you know.
Right, exactly. I mean, you know, well, you can't go bigger than Netflix, right?
That's true.
So,
Yes, of course.
You know,
yes.
so that already just speaks volumes. But how long you been doing this, Casper?
Writing in general or freelancing?
Writing, like prior to Adult Swim.
Yeah, probably. Oh Lord, yeah, 25 years or so.
25 years.
Yeah.
So like, I just bring that up because it's like, you know, ultimately how it happened, right, is these different relationships, you know, and a referral to get you like an interview that puts you in the running, and then you finally get it. But it's like, it's 25 years of relationships, you know, so it's just the amount of patience that we need. And we need to remember to cultivate in ourselves if you're in this business, whether you're directing, producing, acting, writing, doesn't matter what you're doing. Like, the relationships do pay off. You just don't know when they're going to pay off, you know? So it's like, be patient, know that it's coming, be an artist, and continue to create. And do it with other people. And you never know what's going to happen and who is going to help lead you to that next gig.
Yes. And I think there's other factors. I think heat, of course, helps. And I think Too Many Cooks, even though gave me heat, and even though it's a long time ago, there's still a low simmer. Like, here's another name. He's the Too Many Cooks guy. Oh, the Too Many Cooks guy. Yeah, let's meet him. Yeah. You know, it's still. But I think a whole other way to do it is, which is becoming much more common, is, you know, making shorts on Instagram and stuff that just start cutting through. Like, there's a show. Well, I don't know if I'm supposed to. It's not out yet, so I probably shouldn't mention it. But yeah, people start doing animated shorts and on Instagram, and they're awesome or whatever, you know. And it's like, here's one that I don't, to my knowledge, Adult Swim isn't doing. But there's this funny YouTube Meat Canyon. Like, I'm sure he's been doing meetings, and you know, if he wants to. Or Brad Neely is another good example. He started just doing stuff on his own, shorts, and putting them out there for free. And they cut through, and then you trust them. Like, this person has a voice. This person has something unique. We should do a show with them, you know. But
that takes time.
Yeah,
you don't make one Instagram reel.
No, you
right?
don't. Yeah.
You know, you got to make a lot of Instagram reels.
Yeah.
You brought up Too Many Cooks.
Uh-oh.
Too Many Cooks, again, such like a wacky, fun idea, like out of the box. Again, how did like where did you come up with that? And then like that just went straight to YouTube, right?
Yeah. And
Like-
it aired as well, but yeah, YouTube is where it really got noticed. Yeah.
Yeah. How many? I remember we talked about this on set. Like I was like, oh my god, it's got like 75 million views or something crazy, and you were like, and they took down the original one, or like what? Like what? How many views did this thing get?
I always forget, but it got up maybe, I don't know, but maybe like 50 or 60 because it got up to like 30, but someone else put it up.
Right.
And Adult Swim was going to take it down, but they were like, Jim Babcock was like, no, let's wait. So many people are watching it.
Right.
Let's just let's wait until it's died down a little. So, and then when it died, because they wanted to monetize it. So once
Right.
it died down, they took it down and Adult Swim put it up. And then it got another 30 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like
But you never know. I mean, yeah.
that, and I'm sure you weren't expecting that, right?
No. At the time, I was like, I really wanted to make it badly, but at the time, I was like, why am I doing this? Why am I not making a pilot where I could get a show out of this? Why am I spending so much time on this thing that's a very short one-off, or maybe a two-off one day?
Oh. Well, I think that's such an interesting point because yeah, you're like, why shouldn't I be doing this? But it's like it goes to show you that this problem, like if you turn that into a pilot, maybe it just gets rejected. Nothing happens, right? You do this, and you're the Too Many Cooks guy.
There is something to that stuff you're just burning to do for whatever reason. Sometimes those work, maybe I don't know. I think you're doing this. I'm trying to do like the 3-prong attack, like, the big swings of like trying to do an A24 movie, then the more medium swings, and then the small swings of like, I'm going to make a short film or I'm going to make I'm thinking of doing a Kickstarter to do a micro budget film, something that I can control,
Right.
So that if I'm waiting for these big swings in between those, I can do, you do that obviously. Like you audition for the big ass things, and then you probably act in your friends' movies, and then you do all this other hustling and stuff like the presentation and this podcast and everything. And together it makes a good mix. It can be stressful, but
100%.
you're not just waiting by the phone all the time, which sucks. Yeah.
You cannot just wait by the phone. And I think just as people, like as humans, when you have control of some things, and it's not about being like a control freak, it's just about like progress, right? Like that's one of the human needs is like you moving forward, you growing. So
Yes.
if I'm, doing this podcast, I'm learning some things in some way, right? Am I getting like millions of views? It's not Too Many Cooks, right? The podcast isn't Too Many Cooks, but we are getting views and so that's fun. And so it's like, if you focus on the work and in continuing to get better, like even in this podcast, I'm like, oh, I maybe could have said that better, or, I'm going to make sure to improve this on the next one. That's growth, right? And so, yeah, it's maybe not the next, big movie that, could be coming for me. It's that, the smaller growth things, but that I think you need that as people. So 100%. And I like how you described it as like kind of like the bigger projects, medium projects, and smaller things. And one is not necessarily better than the other. It's just being able to do all of them.
Yes.
And finding time for them. And I think that fulfills you as an artist.
Yeah, and sometimes surprising things. It's actually common that the small thing might lead to something like this is not the best, actually not a great example, but I'll say it anyway. As I wrote this book of short stories, and I investigated because these weren't stories that had been published in the New Yorker. These were just short stories I wrote, and so I investigated like small print houses, and they were all like, give us a year and a half, and then if you haven't heard, check in again. And so I'm like, yeah, I'll just self-publish this for fun. This is not what my career, so I'll just do it for fun. And it ended up selling pretty well. I met some writers who recommended it on the back who become friends. And then crazily, this German film company optioned one of the stories, and they renew it they haven't made it yet, but they renew it every 2 years.
Really?
And it's still hanging out there. Like, I think it'll get made eventually, but yeah, so you never know and then this German rapper bought it and like started giving it to his friends. So I've become friendly with him. So it just, puts you out there and it creates connections, which is just very satisfying, like-minded weirdos, that you get to meet. Yeah. Like I would prefer that. I like that because the other avenue, and I have friends like this who are big Hollywood writers, but most of the stuff doesn't get made, but they get paid well. And then maybe every 5 years, a big movie that they're not really proud of because it got noted so much, they're like, they might have 3 credits of movies they're not really proud of, but they're rich, which is great. But I would love to be able to do that too, but it's also great to just really do what's yourself, even if only 1,000 people buy it.
Yeah.
And you've connected with 1,000 people. That's not nothing. I mean, that's like half a high school, whatever.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean,
or maybe it's 5,000. I don't know. Yeah.
I can't agree more. I'm like, when I look at the podcast, and some, people will sometimes like, give themselves a hard time. Oh, it only got, 200 views or 300 views. And I'm like, if I got 300 people in a room to listen to me, I would be like, this was a good day.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes, people, because the problem is, you see that there's videos with millions of views.
Yes.
So it's the comparison game. You do the comparison game, you are going to end up sad every time. Every time.
Oh, yeah. And the weird thing about the comparison game is I noticed this about myself, and I'm like, okay, you got to really watch yourself, is I would be like, why couldn't I make a movie like whatever, The Shining? And then I'll turn around and go, why couldn't I have been in a band like the Beatles, And then I'm like, well, no one did both of those. Stanley Kubrick wasn't in the Beatles and Paul McCartney did. So why now I've created this Frankenstein career that no one has done.
Right.
That I'm holding myself against. That's insane.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I do think strongly, well, I think that when you're not moving in the direction at all, you are more envious. But once you start moving, you get excited about your own thing and you're looking to the next. I mean, you will compare yourself sometimes, but you're more excited about, how you can up what you did last year or whatever.
100%. You get momentum.
Yeah, you got momentum and you've moved your sight down to your world and excited about how you can grow that, which is super satisfying.
Yeah. You did like a little plug to my book over there, which thanks. But it's called Turning Rejection into Success. And so I'd love to know a moment in your life where it was like a turning rejection into success, a moment where you thought, wow, this is a big flop or a big failure. And then all of a sudden when you look back, you're like, oh, wait a second, that needed to happen for this big moment to happen.
I had a meeting to staff on a Marvel show, a Marvel TV show, and it went great. And at the end of the meeting, I was like, oh, I love this. I would love to work on this. And they said, our agent, your agent told us under no circumstances would you leave Atlanta. So we weren't even considering you for this. We just wanted to meet you because we're fans. We've already staffed up. We just wanted to meet you because we're fans. And I was like, you motherfucker, I would have gone to LA for 6 months to be on this show.
Yeah.
That was a former agent. But Adult Swim U-Log came, I wouldn't have been able to do Adult Swim U-Log if I had that job. Like that would have taken up that year, which I ended up doing Adult Swim U-Log, which I think ultimately is more, obviously not as big as a Marvel show, but it is very satisfying for me and more in line with what I want to do, and do my own thing. So that worked out that way.
Wow.
It's still a just a disappointment to say the least. But,
for sure, I know, right? We want both. We want both.
Yeah.
The young Casper Kelly not telling everyone about the comic books on the Marvel show. Dang. Well, now you're only going to be able to build yourself up more. And let's be honest, Marvel's not going anywhere.
That's right.
So there'll be many more opportunities. Well, Casper, I think this brings us to our spotlight sign off, which is 5 questions to end strong. Question number 1 is, what's something you're super grateful for today?
I'm grateful for so much, but I guess I'm grateful that I get to be in this business and get to somehow sort of make a living doing it is very thrilling. I mean, it's magical. Yeah, I love it.
That's awesome. Question number 2 is, what book, movie, or TV show changed the trajectory of your life?
There's a bunch. There's there's so many I could say, but I'll say this book. There's this book called The Mezzanine, which it's a slender little novel, and the whole novel is just what this guy is, an office drone guy, is going on his lunch break. And it's just his train of thought during the lunch break. That's the whole novel. And it's incredible. And it kind of showed me, you could make a novel about anything. You can do, I mean, obviously I guess Ulysses to sort of was like that, but it opened me up of you don't have to follow any rules of what a novel is or what a movie is. If you have a good idea and you want to, it was a daring idea, I thought, and it was great. I ate it up. I loved it. And it goes into so many weird details about how when you're reading a book and you have a Coke with a straw and the straw floats and you try to find the straw with your, just silly things like that. And it was just awesome. It was so slice of life. I think he goes to buy shoelaces as part of the errand that he runs on his lunch break. And it was great. Yeah.
You know what? I love it. And I feel like you have 100% applied that, because if you take Yule log, right? How you watch the fireplace and the logs and then they come kill people.
Yeah.
You're like, what? It's that's the idea that you have, you go with it, and all of a sudden it works. I love that so much. Question number 3 is, what is something in your daily routine that you really cherish?
It's always a wrestle, because I always have a fantasy of what I want my daily routine to be, and it's wildly inconsistent, but I'm pretty good about journaling. It's sort of a combination of writing about the day before, but also the morning pages of The Artist's Way. Do you know that book, The Artist's Way? So it's sort of that too. Although you're supposed to handwrite that and I type it, so it's sort of just clearing your brain of stuff, to kind of get at those thoughts and feelings that you're kind of pushing down a little and not aware of. It kind of gets those out. So I'm a fan of that.
Nice. What is something that you're currently trying to improve in your life?
This is boring, but I've sort of been, it's not about the money. I just want to do what I'm passionate about. But now I have 2 kids in college, and and it kind of is about the money now. So I'm trying to think about money more and be more organized with money, be thriftier. I kind of got a little loose with money in the good times,
Sure.
and just be leaner, because the leaner I can be, and I'm not talking about living a bad life, but being mindful, not wasting money, because the more money you can save, the more space you create to be an artist. Because, if I want to try, I'm going to take an animation class, to have that time, you can't be working on another job. So, the cheaper you can live, the more space you have to do those things.
And I love even where you're at. You're talking about taking an animation class, still wanting to learn, grow, get to the next level of you as an artist.
I think that's really, that's for fun. I'll never be, but maybe I could make a animated movie myself. Maybe. Yeah. Something to do. Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. We'll see.
Last question is, we've gone over a lot of stuff, but if you wanted the listeners to get one thing for sure, something we maybe have already talked about or something we didn't bring up, what would you want the listeners to get?
You mean a piece of advice or a plug?
Let's do both.
All right. A piece of advice is, if you procrastinate, I really do like Focus Mate. I wish somebody would try it.
Do it and comment.
Please comment. It's free. You can do 3 times a week for free. I mean, how much easier can we make it? If you procrastinate. I think it works.
Let's get some shit done. Focus Mate, everybody.
I probably lost some years procrastinating. So, yeah. And then the plug, watch Adult Swim Ulog 2 Branching Out. Also,
And
adults
it's on Max.
on Max, yes. And the first one is on Max too, so you can make it a twofer, so you kind of know what's happening.
Heck yeah.
And then also, if you're a physical media person, Adult Swim Ulog is on Blu-ray with the folks at Vinegar Syndrome and Decanalog. I think it's on Amazon too, but you can buy it on vinegarsyndrome.com, and so you can do that. And please, and I might be doing I'm going to try to do a Kickstarter to make an indie movie. So, but I don't have it set up yet. So I'm going to eventually have a website where you can put in your name. So I'll email you when I'm doing it.
Nice.
So that's a terrible plug. Ignore that.
I love it. Well, Casper, it was awesome to have you here. It was such a pleasure. I think the listeners got a lot out of it. And again, I'm going to plug it too. I'm also in the movie, so go check it out.
And he's great. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. So Casper, thanks so much, man. It was awesome being here with you.
Oh, I want to tag on one more thing.
Okay, sure.
So me as a director, is this going to put you on the spot?
Oh,
what did I do well? What's room for improvement?
Oh, shit. All right. Let's see. All right, what did you do well? 100% what you did well, and Andrew and I talked about this, is that you're so open to everyone's ideas. It's like, yeah, sure, go ahead and try it. Like so it felt like a very comfortable set that was like very free flowing of ideas, right? It didn't feel like we don't have time for this, or I have my own vision. And then let's see, something to improve. I feel like people will just be like, nothing, right? But I'm like, what? I mean, nothing is coming to mind at the moment. Hold on. I'm going to come up with something. I'm going to come up with some constructive criticism. Something that you could have improved on. This is on the spot. You ready for this, everyone? All right. You mentioned, now I would say, like, I didn't necessarily see this, but you mentioned earlier about like someone maybe bringing over a prop, and you're like, that's absolutely not what it is, right? And what I immediately thought of was like, oh, directors probably don't think about, I need to improve my leadership.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to like be on a set, you're thinking of like everything else except leadership, but like you are the leader of the entire set, so I think there's probably, not that I thought you were a weak leader by any means, but I think that's something that could probably be improved, that just serves everybody in a huge way. That if you make the prop people feel better, the producers feel better, the actors feel better, the lighting, the grips, all the people feel better, the production is just going to be so much better.
The director sets the tone of the mood of the, and I think part of what we were up against, it was such a fast, I'm now making excuses, but it was so fast. Like the whole thing was like, from writing it to delivering it was like 8 months. So that's way fast for a movie.
That's super fast.
Yeah. There was no pre-pro. The props were great. I don't mean the props was a made up example, but we didn't have time to do the right amount of pre-pros. So we go through every item and go, this is what it needs to be, or whatever. So everyone was kind of stretched beyond the limit of like money and time, but so I'm very happy. But yes, I think I'll offer one too, is I think sometimes when I feel rushed, like when they do, I'm glad you didn't feel the rush. I'm very glad.
I was going to say, I didn't feel rushed.
Because I was be like, we got room for one more take. And I'm like, all right. But I do think sometimes, see if you notice this, is I would try to talk really fast. I think without realizing it, I would talk really fast to the actors, because I feel like I was in such a hurry.
Oh, you know what?
Instead of being, it doesn't save you that much time. I might as well go, hey,
yes.
Like
I do remember that. Actually,
yeah, do one more and then do. Okay, great, go.
No, I do remember. I do remember you maybe not being like you're talking as you're thinking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you're like, and then you could try that, and then maybe just. Okay, cool. And you're like, I think I got it. Yeah. Maybe not. I don't know. So yeah, I think that's probably a good note. That is like, get the thoughts. Yeah. How much time are you really saving?
Yeah.
Just saying, hold on. Okay, I got the note now. Do you know what I mean? You're not saving that much time doing both at the same time. I think that's also good. And I do remember that now that you bring it up. But Yeah, but when you talk about like the speed of things, I mean, for one, I look at it and I'm like, congratulations, you did all of it in 8 months.
No,
Like,
it's great.
That's
Yeah.
incredible. I mean, I'm just like, there's certain movies and films like, yeah, you're going faster. It just is what it is. And if you're the actor, you got to be able to do it. And if you have more time, great. But if you don't, you don't. And that's what it is.
I like it too because there's no time for it to fall through. Like we're shooting in a week, it's happening. Yes, you're locked in. Yeah,
totally.
But also, I'll watch. I know we got to end the podcast. I'm sorry, but
We're not going to.
I'll watch documentaries about other movies, and I'll feel better. I don't remember exactly, but I think like Penny Marshall, A League of Her Own. Like she couldn't decide something, so every scene she shot 2 ways. Like I don't remember exactly what the fundamental thing she couldn't decide was, but she shot it twice. So I'm like, okay, I don't do that. So I feel
yeah, exactly. Well, again, it was a blast. I had so much fun. I had so much fun on the project and so much fun bringing Beauregard to life. It really was a blast. So I also hope there's a trilogy and somehow Beauregard finds his way in there.
He's alive. Well, I guess you've seen it.
Yeah. And if you haven't seen it, get your ass to HBO Max and watch it.
Yeah.
So again, man, well, thanks so much. Are we officially going to end it?
Yes, let's end it.
Are you sure?
Yes.
All right. Everyone, thanks so much for watching. Make sure to try, what the hell is it called? The
movie?
No, I know the movie. The thing you want everyone to...
FocusMate.
FocusMate.
FocusMate.com.
Go to FocusMate.com and then also go to Max and watch, or Adult Swim and watch Yule Log Branching Out. Casper Kelly, thanks so much, man. It was awesome.
Thank you. I had a blast.